Hello and welcome to the FATBOSS Guide to Elegon 25-man heroic in the Mogu'Shan Vault.
Hello.
And this encounter is very similar to normal mode, unfortunately.
Yeah,
There's a couple of changes.
Unfortunately, it's going to be the same.
Yeah, it's still a good encounter.
It's a lovely encounter. It's a
fight.
dragon, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's awesome. Now, if you don't know the normal mode encounter and you don't know the tactics for that, then it's probably a good idea that you click on the annotation you see on your screen now so you can go watch our normal guide, because we're going to sort of skip a couple of normal mode mechanics and we're not going to talk about them too much because we presume you already know them.
Yes. Now for this fight you want to bring 3 tanks, 5 healers, and well, range DPS is slightly better arguably, but it's still good to bring some melee because of the burst they can provide, but otherwise in anything really, it doesn't really matter too much.
Now the first thing for you to know about this encounter on heroic is that in phase 1 and 2 the energy vortex does create a line of sight. So for example, if you're inside the energy vortex and you're trying to damage or heal something on the outside of it, then you also will have to be outside.
Yeah.
Vice versa. So yeah, that's the main problem in this encounter.
Yeah, and it is key on how you counter some mechanics, which we'll cover phase by phase. And starting off with phase 1. Now phase 1 is practically the same. The only thing you have to change is the add. So you still want to drop your stacks around 7 to 10 things, but the add, you know, the celestial protector, spawns more frequently. Now it still does its arcane energy but instead of 5 players, it goes on to 7. So it does. Yeah, it's a bit
just
more...
dispel it. Simple as that.
Just try and dispel it as much as you can. Now, of course, it still does its pulsing AoE after 25% HP. So what you want to do is that you want to drag him out and have your DPS finish him off outside the vortex, which means they have to leave with him. However, now once he dies, he does something called Total Annihilation. Now this does 550k damage to anyone who is wherever he is. So if they're outside the vortex, 550k outside the vortex. If he's inside the vortex because you've done it wrong, you're going to die.
Yeah, so it has to die outside the vortex.
However, if nobody takes this damage, he will then do 950k damage to everyone in the raid regardless of their position. Yay! So that can't happen. What you need to make sure that you do is that you have 3 players take the damage. It's kind of like you've got to sort out like Hour of Twilight, similar to Old Traxion. That's how you've got to sort it out. Preferably 3 DPS, such as Locks, Shadow Priests, Mages, Rogues, Hunters, all that kind of stuff. Anyone who really has like a big damage reduction on them. But if you need a healer, like a paladin or something for a group, then that will work as well. Now, after you take the damage, you are left with 2 debuffs. One is destabilizing energy. Now, you are stunned and take 50k damage every 2 seconds until healed to 80% health. Now, healers have to make sure that they get these people up as soon as possible. However, the idea is that when you do take the damage, you don't go below 80% HP because you're going to be using stuff like Dispersion or Cloak of Shadows. So that's why you want them sort of DPS outside.
And obviously, if you don't go below 80% health, then you don't get the debuff at all.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the key thing there.
Now you're also left with a destabilized debuff. Now this makes it so you can't take a Total Annihilation for the next 2 minutes, also similar to kind of Old Traxion Heroic. So yeah, if you try and take that, you will just insta-die. Now because of this, you need to make 4 groups of players, of 3 players, so 12 players in total, who have ways of mitigating this annihilation damage. So and then you each take turns. So group 1 will be on the first one out, second one out, third one out, fourth one out, and then back to the first one out. Yeah, so basically you just got to remember that there is a line of sight across the vortex. This is very, very important. So you will need to leave the vortex in order to finish off this ad, which is very important that you have to kill it very quickly because of the pulsing AoE. So yeah, this is also a good time to drop your stacks as well, which we want to be doing quite frequently because of the amount of damage in this phase is crazy.
So for the tanks in this fight, you want 2 tanks to be on Elegon and 1 tank to be on the ads. Now the tank that is pulling out the ad needs to make sure that he never takes the explosion. Because it's not really a good idea because he needs to get back in to pick up another ad.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're going to be fucking around. And as soon as the ad starts casting Total Annihilation, he needs to run back in and pick it up. Yeah. That's pretty much how it works. The ads will almost spawn constantly.
So you just got to make sure that once the tank has gone back in, that you do have your 3 DPS outside. But literally, as soon as one ad dies, the next one has spawned most likely, unless your DPS is somehow shit hot.
Now the 2 tanks that are on Elegon should be switching around 5 to 7 stacks. And just as an example, you'll have 1 tank drop the stacks and then come back and tank the boss as soon as he's dropped his stack. And the other tank that was previously tanking Elegon shouldn't go and panic drop his stacks. He should then use this moment, because he's got such high vengeance, to try and DPS the boss as much as possible, because
there isn't a lot of raid damage going out at this point.
Yeah, there isn't a massive amount of raid damage going out, but it's the DPS race. The boss is still very much a DPS race.
It's a huge DPS race.
And then once you have DPS the boss for so long, then obviously go drop your stacks and just keep repeating the process until phase 2.
Now phase 2 practically is the same. It starts at 85% and you still get the wave of ads. Now they are the same ads, but they have a little bit more HP and they do a bit more damage on death. So what you should be aiming for is about 5 waves of ads, and then this will give the boss 6 stacks, because the boss gains stacks when he casts draw power, not when the ads die. So you should be aiming for about 6 stacks on the boss. If you can do more, then of course do more, but it isn't really easy. And also, once again, you want to set up groups so that they're going to be between 2 pylons in phase 3, so similar to what you do in normal mode. Now remember, during this phase, Elegon is damageable, and this is so important. Now you should continue to dot him up, and when you decide to let a wave of ads through, just nuke the shit out of him and just ignore the ads. And of course, it is still very important between each wave of ads, because then they do a bit more damage on heroic than they do on normal, that you reset your stacks each time you kill one wave of ads.
Now phase 3, it works exactly the same way as normal. You just want to make sure that you've got people killing the pylons as quick as possible. They are your focus, they're the most important targets, and as soon as they're all dead, that's when you switch to the ads. There's no other changes apart from that. And then obviously it'll then go back to phase 1, and the phase 1 will then be exactly the same as the previous phase 1, except it now ends at 50%. You'll have phase 2 again, which is exactly the same as normal mode phase 2 as we just described, and the same with phase 3, and then you'll get the last phase.
Now when you enter this last phase 1, you want to have the boss at least 35% health, which means that you're going to have to be doing a shit ton of damage to him during the second phase. You really, if you go into that phase of any higher, either he's going to kill you via AoE or he's going to berserk. So yeah, there's no real way around it. So what you want to do for this phase, the same as we do on normal 25 man, you stack up and completely just kill him.
Yeah, just heal your tits off and use all your personal cooldowns and all your DPS cooldowns. And I mean, at this point in the fight, the boss should have at least 12 stacks on him, which means he's taking 120% more damage. So yeah, just nuke your tits off and hope that you kill him before he kills you.
Yeah, so you will probably have a bunch of 1% wipes, but you'll eventually be able to whittle it down, and that's actually practically the fight. It's very similar to normal, but it's still, I like the changes in the
I mean, just to wrap it up very, very quickly, it's just differences in phase 1.
Yeah,
more or less the rest of the fight is the same. So if this guide did help you out, please do drop a thumbs up. It does help us out a lot. And make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to see any of our other 25-man guides, then do click up on the screen now, and it'll take you right to them via annotation. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.